So Caitlyn Jenner was on CNN. She was questioned on the subject of the new Texas abortion law, which effectively bans abortion for women in the state. Take a look at what she had to say.
I am for a women's right to choose. I am also for a state having the ability to make their own laws. And so I support Texas in that decision. That's their decision. I'm okay with that. But as far as being a woman's right to choose, I don't see any changes in our laws in California in the future.
But you're fine with the Texas law, even though you say that you support abortion rights. You are fine with a law that essentially outlaws abortion.
I think they have the right in their state to do what they want to do. Now, do I agree with the decision or not? No, to be honest with you, I actually probably do not agree with the decision, but I agree with they have the right to make their own decision.
You know, this is a prime example of a person's money, a person's power, and a person's influence coming into play and making them, I guess, appear as a serious individual to people that consider themselves serious individuals, that being mainstream media, but aren't actual serious individuals themselves. Because I don't understand how, at this late date, given all she said, given all she's done, Caitlyn Jenner is still somehow getting press. She's being asked questions. She's being interviewed. People are paying attention to her. And by people, I mean corporate media, because the people that, you know, whose vote she actually needs in order to win for governor, obviously don't give a fuck about her. I mean, that's a given. But corporate media, in their, you know, their constant adoration for people, wealthy people, people with money and power and influence, it's absolutely disgusting. And I find it appalling that she's being interviewed and asked these types of questions that, I mean, this time could really be given to somebody else and it would prove to be much more fruitful. But let's get into what she had to say here. So she's questioned in regards to the Texas abortion law. And she says, well, what do you think about it? And what she had to say here is so contradictory. I mean, I hesitated to even make this video because it seems so obvious. But she says, I am for women's right to choose. Okay, well, she's a woman. She's for women's right to choose. Okay, so you're allying with the women, correct? All right, so that seems like you'd be against the Texas abortion law, right? No, and she goes on to say, I am also for states' rights to make their own laws. Okay, well, allow me to pose this question to you. You're for women's rights to choose, but you're also for states' right to make their own laws. But what if the law that the state creates impedes on the rights of women? Well, therefore, by definition, I mean, just on the merits of it, if you have any sort of principles, you would have to therefore be against that specific state law because it impedes on something that you believe in. If you believe that murder is wrong, and you say that nobody should kill anybody for any reason, because I disagree with murder, and a state passes a law that effectively legalizes murder, you don't agree with murder, but you agree with the state making its own decisions. Would you therefore say, you know what, that state that just legalized murder, more power to them? No, that's absolutely insane. And that's effectively what just happened here. It's something that you believe in, and the state just effectively took that away from a large portion of the population. But somehow she's just like, no, it's cool because the state can do what the state wants to do. What kind of flawed, absurd logic is she operating on here? There's nothing here. You see these people with this money and influence, it kills me when people think just because somebody's wealthy and they have a lot of power and influence, they're somehow educated, or they somehow have common sense. They somehow know things that other regular people don't. No, these people are idiots. They're completely insane. I mean, what she's saying here is so contradictory. And it makes absolutely no sense. So she says in that regard, she supports Texas. And she couldn't even say whether or not she agreed or disagreed. She said, you know, in regards to the law and what it does to women, I probably don't agree. I probably do not agree. It's yes or no, man. You got to pick a side. Like, what are you doing? And I get it. She's a Republican, and Republicans at large would support this Texas abortion bill because they're anti-abortion. They're pro-life, quote unquote. All right. They're not pro-life when it comes to locking up, you know, people for having a little bit of weed, you know, taking people's life away for wanting to change their mental state, you know, with the use of whatever substance. They're not pro-life when it comes to, you know, fighting endless wars and, you know, killing civilians in other sovereign nations. They're not pro-life when it comes to a plethora of issues. But God forbid, you better not have an abortion on my watch. Pro-fucking life, man. But we're talking about Caitlyn Jenner here. She says she doesn't agree with the decision, but she agrees with them having the right to make the decision. Isn't that absolutely, like, just preposterous? I mean, what a bland thing to say. Do you agree or disagree? And she never really answered that question. How can you agree with the woman's right to choose but support this Texas abortion law? You can't. Or she supports Texas' right to craft and enforce the law. This is a person without a spine. This is a person that doesn't deserve any sort of position within our political system. Unfortunately, there are people that are already within our political system that are much worse than Caitlyn Jenner. But in my opinion, she's a shallow human being that doesn't know a whole lot, that honestly seems like she just wants the position just to have it. And it's completely unfortunate that these types of people are in the position to actually run for office and things of that nature to attain a position like governor. And if she was the governor, I mean, she'd be terrible at governing. I can see it already. But the fact that she's still in the spotlight, the fact that she's, you know, the mainstream media is paying her so much attention and make it seem like she actually has, you know, a reasonable chance at success here, it's absolutely disgusting. But, you know, these contradictory statements, they say it all. She's not a serious person, and I don't think she'll ever will be.